On April 2, 2025, the world woke up to a familiar tremor. A tremor originating from the Oval Office and reverberating across the globe. Former President Donald Trump, back in the White House after a 4-year hiatus, announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all imported vehicles and automotive parts. This move marked an escalation of his protectionist agenda, sending shockwaves through global markets and triggering a wave of uncertainty across the automotive industry. The announcement, delivered with Trump's signature blend of bluster and defiance, came as a blow to many. Global automakers already grappling with supply chain disruptions and an uneven post-pandemic recovery found themselves staring at a future clouded with uncertainty. The tariff, effective immediately, threatened to upend decades of globalized trade in the automotive sector, potentially redrawing the map of the industry. The return of Trump's America First rhetoric also signaled a shift in the geopolitical landscape. After a brief respite under the Biden administration, the world was once again confronting the prospect of a trade war, with the automotive industry caught in the crosshairs. The tariff announcement served as a stark reminder of the fragility of global cooperation and the potential for economic nationalism to disrupt the delicate balance of international trade. The stage was set for a high-stakes standoff between the United States and its trading partners, with the global economy hanging in the balance. The world watched with bated breath, waiting to see how this latest chapter in the saga of Trump's trade wars would unfold. The rationale behind Trump's decision to impose a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and parts was deeply rooted in his America First philosophy. Central to this philosophy was the belief that the United States had for too long been on the losing end of unfair trade deals, sacrificing American jobs and prosperity for the benefit of other nations. The automotive industry, a cornerstone of the American manufacturing sector, became a prime target for Trump's protectionist measures. Trump argued that the tariff was necessary to protect American jobs, particularly in the Rust Belt states that had experienced significant manufacturing job losses in recent decades. By making imported vehicles more expensive, the tariff aimed to boost the competitiveness of American automakers and encourage consumers to buy domestically produced cars. This, in turn, was expected to lead to increased production and job creation in the U.S. auto industry. Furthermore, the Trump administration pointed to the significant trade deficit in the automotive sector as evidence that the playing field was tilted against American manufacturers. The United States, they argued, had become a dumping ground for cheap foreign cars, particularly from countries like Japan, South Korea, and Germany. The tariff was presented as a way to level the playing field and force these countries to open up their markets to American-made vehicles. However, critics were quick to point out that the tariff was a blunt instrument that could backfire spectacularly. They argued that it would likely lead to higher prices for consumers, reduced choice in the marketplace, and potential retaliatory tariffs from other countries, harming American businesses and consumers in the process. The debate over the tariff highlighted the complex and often contentious relationship between trade, jobs, and economic growth. The global financial markets reacted to Trump's tariff announcement with a swift and visceral jolt. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, a key indicator of American economic health, plunged over 500 points in the hours following the news, reflecting the widespread fear and uncertainty gripping investors. The automotive sector, at the epicenter of the storm, suffered the most immediate and dramatic losses. Shares of major American automakers like General Motors and Ford initially surged on the news, fueled by hopes of increased market share and profits. However, these gains proved short-lived as the broader implications of the tariff began to sink in. The reality that higher prices on imported parts would cut into profit margins, coupled with the looming threat of retaliatory tariffs from major trading partners, quickly dampened investor enthusiasm. The impact was even more severe for foreign automakers that relied heavily on the American market. Japanese giants Toyota and Honda, along with German powerhouses Volkswagen and BMW, saw their stock prices plummet as investors grappled with the potential damage to their sales and profitability. The interconnected nature of the global automotive industry meant that the pain was felt across the board, from multinational corporations to smaller suppliers and dealerships. The tariff announcement served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of the global economy to sudden policy shifts and the potential for protectionist measures to destabilize markets and undermine investor confidence. As the dust settled, businesses and policymakers around the world brace themselves for the next move in this high-stakes game of economic chess. A chorus of condemnation, international backlash against the tariff. The international response to Trump's tariff announcement was swift and overwhelmingly negative. Leaders from across the globe, including many of America's closest allies, condemned the move as protectionist, counterproductive, and a threat to the rules-based trading system that had underpinned global prosperity for decades. The tariff was widely seen as a betrayal of the spirit of international cooperation and a dangerous escalation of Trump's America First agenda. The European Union, a major trading bloc with deep economic ties to the United States, threatened to retaliate with tariffs on American goods. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called the tariff unjustified and unacceptable, and warned that it would harm consumers, workers, and industries on both sides of the Atlantic. Similar sentiments of disapproval and concern were echoed by leaders in Japan, South Korea, and Canada, all major players in the global automotive industry. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, warned that the tariffs could have a significant negative impact on global economic growth, disrupting supply chains, raising prices for consumers, and undermining business investment. The organization urged all parties to exercise restraint and engage in constructive dialogue to resolve their trade differences. The widespread condemnation of Trump's tariff highlighted the deep unease among America's trading partners about the direction of U.S. trade policy. It also underscored the potential for protectionist measures to unravel the fabric of global trade with far-reaching consequences for the global economy. Protectionism versus free trade, analyzing the tariff's rationale. Trump's decision to impose a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and parts ignited a fierce debate about protectionism versus free trade. Proponents argued it was necessary to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. They pointed to the decline of American manufacturing and job losses as evidence that the existing trade regime was not working. The tariff would make imported vehicles more expensive, boosting American automakers and encouraging domestic purchases. This was expected to lead to increased production, job creation, and a revival of the American manufacturing sector. Critics, including many economists and business leaders, argued it was a misguided policy. They contended tariffs are taxes on consumers, raising prices and reducing purchasing power. Tariffs disrupt global supply chains, increase costs, and lead to retaliatory tariffs, harming American businesses and consumers. The debate highlighted the complex relationship between trade, jobs, and economic growth.